when I honored fathers, I didn't honor the mothers who have also been fathers. And so I want to take a moment to honor those of us who have been mothers and fathers. And of course, all of our binary people and just everybody who is fathered in any way. So thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, so I took a page out of Reverend Verona's playbook. I decided to start with a joke. Well, I wasn't really going to start with one, but then I was looking up Father's Day jokes, and this one just struck me so funny. I think I just needed to laugh, but hopefully you'll get some joy out of it. If not, then that's what it is. So anyway, so this guy is saying, my children told me to take the spider outside instead of killing it, because my children are very concerned with all of life. And so they said, take this spider outside and don't kill this poor spider. So I went out, had a few drinks. Nice guy. He's a web designer. I don't know why, but last night, that struck me hysterically. I don't know why, who knows? Now it doesn't seem so funny, but it's just, I laughed and laughed for a minute last night. The rest of the jokes were pitiful, but this one I liked. Anyway, so much for that. The spider, the web designer. All right, so I've been sitting with what my topic was supposed to be, and I couldn't get there with it. So instead, I took the theme rather, for the whole month, which is cosmic order, because that really resonates with me. And, all month and before that, I've been saying over and over again to myself, God's got this, God's got this, God's got this, because I know there is a divine order in the universe. I know that presence that created the stars, the galaxies, the solar systems, and God knows all that's out there. God does, there's so much out there. And that the one that creates it also does not abandon it, does not forsake it, orders it, harmonizes it, orchestrates it, prospers it. And so that's what has been touching me. And when you hear what's been going on in my life this past week, I think you'll probably understand, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But so I was being with that, and what does that have to do with Father's Day? And what occurs to me is that fathers are about stability. Fathers are about order, about providing that stability and order for the family. Now, I acknowledge some of our fathers didn't do that as well as others. Some fathers actually abandoned. But the father principle of life, hear this, the father principle of life never abandons us, never forsakes us, is always present for us, is always ordering our lives. And yet at the same time, it calls for our cooperation. The way life works is that we are created in the spiritual image and likeness of the divine. We are here to be participants. We are here to cooperate, not merely spectate. It's lovely to create, what's a word I want, to come forth with intentions. It's wonderful to meditate and to pray. All of that is absolutely wonderful. And the result of that is always manifestation, because here we are as manifestors in life. We're here being the very eyes, the ears, the heart, the soul, the mind, the arms, the feet of the divine. We are it. We are the way spirit shows up in form, and it will do all it can to assist us. That sounds like it's outside, but it isn't. It's our life. And so there's this inner impulse for us to create, for us to manifest, to glorify life itself by being all that we can be. And so that's what divine order means to me. And early on when I was in this teaching, it didn't mean so much to me. And as the years have gone by, I just see how beautiful it is and how it pertains to almost any situation in terms of prayer. So I want to, first of all, say that reading really contains the gems of this talk. And the first thing I want to begin with is that there's no such thing as luck, as good luck, as bad luck, because there's no happenstance in the universe. There's nothing that happens by accident in the universe, believe it or not. You know, some people, and then some people, when a problem befalls them, when crisis happens, when catastrophe happens, they pray, you know. It's like, oh God, please help me. I've done that when I was much younger. Oh God, please help me. You know, I don't know how to deal with that. So basically what a lot of folks do, and I'm not criticizing, I'm just saying this is the way it is a lot of folks start to pray when the rubber hits the road. Some folks start to pray when it gets difficult, you know, God, please help, and then expect a miracle or at least a change. And so oftentimes that doesn't happen for lots of reasons, mostly because you need for a change to happen, for transformation, for a miracle to happen, one needs to have a deep sense of faith and trust in what you're doing, no matter what your form of prayer is. So anyway, there's no such thing as good luck. Let's just start there. And I love what Deepak Chopra says. I love that he said that it's about being prepared, first of all. There are three things I'm going to talk about: being prepared, opportunity, and witnessing. So the first point I'm making is that instead of waiting to pray when things get tough, let's be prepared. And in our teaching, that's what we talk about. We talk about daily spiritual practices, daily meditation, daily spiritual mind treatment, affirmative prayer, which means we're continually affirming that which is right and perfect and good and magnificent. We're continually affirming that God is the only thing that is, that God is my life. The only activity that happens anywhere and everywhere is divine activity. These are spiritual truths that all spiritual traditions believe in. These are spiritual truths that we believe in anchoring every single day. And that what my experience has been is that as I've anchored them my life, I am prepared for any disaster or catastrophe that can come. Now, does that mean that I don't necessarily have feelings about it? No. Being prepared doesn't mean that you aren't human anymore. Let's put it that way. Being prepared simply means you've got the spiritual, you've got your spiritual toolkit. You've got what you need. You're prayed up. Your consciousness is in the highest heaven, even when things on earth look like they're in the basement. You know, your consciousness is in the high heavens. And the way we look at the world with our consciousness is how we affect the world. I'm going to say that again. The way we look at the world, what we observe, and the consciousness with which we observe it changes. That is not only a mystical truth, that is a truth in quantum physics now teaches that that's the reality, the observation effect. As I observe, something changes. And here's the other part of it: the consciousness with which I observe determines a lot of how that changes. And so when I'm talking about preparedness, I'm talking about being stored up in consciousness. You might think of it as filling your gas tank. You know, you don't, well, at least most of us don't, let our gas tank go down to empty and then store it, or, you know, put our car away overnight and then expect it to run in the morning. So this is about filling up your gas tank, or if you're a scuba diver, filling up your oxygen tank. You know, you wouldn't dive deep into the sea without having that air there. And so oftentimes these challenges call us to dive deep. This is what oftentimes happens. Now, being prepared, that's number one. I think y'all get that one. That's number one. The second one is, and he talks about when preparedness meets opportunity, then solutions happen. It's like preparedness plus opportunity, and I'm going to add witnessing, equals solution. So within the opportunity, and we talk about this all the time, within the opportunity, or within the problem rather, is the opportunity. Within the problem is the opportunity. There's something calling us to grow deeper, to be more expanded, to even manifest differently, you know, than we did before. Within that problem is a new opportunity that perhaps we haven't seen before. A way that Reverend Michael talks about it is that within the problem is the solution already. And so what are we to do with this? And so I would add, and I believe he says this as well, is that within the solution is the question. Within the problem is the solution. Within the solution is the question. So the question might be, how am I to grow from this? The question might be, what wants to emerge from this? The question might be, what is the blessing in the midst of this? Do you see what I'm saying here? That we look at the problem and we know that the solution is within the problem, and we're prepared for it because we've been doing our spiritual practice. And so we dive into that place of consciousness that we know, and we ask this question. In the midst of this problem, in the midst of this challenge, in the midst of this circumstance, what wants to emerge? How am I to grow? What are the blessings? What can I be grateful for? You know, you can make up your own question, but basically the questions are about, you know, what's wanting to happen here. Can I see in a bigger way? That's really what the questions are about. Can I see this in a bigger, more expanded way? Can I trust and know that there's something greater than my human mind that knows what it's doing? That's what it's about. And then what happens, as Deepak says, what happens is that a solution emerges. He says instantaneously. So I would say this, sometimes the manifestation is instantaneous, not always, but it always happens. And always the demonstration is instantaneous. What do I mean about the demonstration and the manifestation? The manifestation is the way it shows up in form. The demonstration is what changes in your consciousness, how you've grown in consciousness. And that can be instantaneous, no question about it. So we look at being prepared. We look at shifting the way we look at problems. And I think, you know, when I see who all's here, I know a lot of you do this already. And so I'm just asking you now, when you see the problem, to really know that the solution is there, which I believe you do, and then take that next step is what wants to happen. Not what's the solution, by the way. You notice I didn't say what's the solution. Instead, it's how am I to grow? What are the blessings? You know, what's the expansion that wants to take place here? What's the transformation? And so that's the opportunity part of it. And then the third part of it is witnessing, just noticing. I love, the Reverend Michael calls it a chaotic universe, chaos and order. That out of the chaos comes the order. And I've noticed that so much in my life. I've noticed that in the lives of clients I work with, congregants, communities. I've noticed that what can look very disorderly, as long as you're prepared, as long as you're knowing that there is something greater happening here, that there's an order that arises. And my experience is that it's always better than anything I could have imagined. Always better. So let me take a breath for a moment. And so where was I going with this? Witnessing. So what I want to do in the midst of, while all this is happening, in the midst, while this problem is happening, while this chaos is happening, there's a part of me, the I am presence, the very divine essence of me, that can stand back and witness, that stands back and simply notices. And now here we go back to the observation point here. As I simply observe, witness, without judgment, this always is the big one, without any judgment, without judging myself, pardon me, without judging the situation. Yes, even let go of judging the situation. Simply witness, notice, and you're bringing high consciousness to what's happening, and just watch all heaven break loose, honestly. That's what starts to happen. So prepare, be prepared, and be prepared, meditate, witness daily, do your affirmative prayer, journal. Some of you do yoga or Tai Chi, or, you know, walking in nature, whatever it is that connects you with the divine. And Reverend Michael always says, and I'm with him on this one, and I know for some people, they don't like this, but I really believe in sitting every day for a moment, you know, at least for sitting at some time. Yes, all the other things are great, and to sit, be still, and open and receptive to spirit, and do what works for you. But that's what works for me, basically. So how is this working in my life? Well, this week, Monday morning, I woke up and my kitchen and my living room were flooded, totally flooded. Apparently it happened during the middle of the night and around 3 or 4 in the morning. And so I basically want to talk about that experience in light of what I have just said to you and how I've been working it. So the first thing, and I'm going to be totally transparent, the first thing was, first of all, I went to the bathroom, turned on the faucet, didn't know there was a flood yet, turned on the faucet. The water was off because they had turned off the water in the building, thank God. And I was a little bit pissed off, honestly. I was a little annoyed. Oh, dang, the water's off and it's so early in the morning, you know, but then I got over myself. I thought, okay, you know, I've got water stored. I can deal with this. So then I go out to the kitchen. I'm still a little bit asleep and notice I'm standing in a little flood of water. It took a minute. Like, what happened here? So then I thought, okay, maybe just something. Anyway, and then the living room and the ceiling and everything, the walls, everything is totally flooded. So, so interestingly enough, at first I was just kind of like, okay, well, this is what is, you know, this is what is, and God's got this. I know that there's something else happening here. The more it dawned on me exactly how much was happening, then I started to feel a little agitated. I'd like to say I was so evolved that I didn't feel any of it, and I wasn't. I didn't break down or anything like that. However, you know, I was like, oh man, you know, this is happening, and I won't be able to use these rooms for probably a long time. They have to dry out. I was going through the scenario, and that particular night, in fact, 2 nights, my mind got kind of obsessed with it in terms of how am I going to do this? Who do I need to call? What needs to happen? And I just kept saying, I kept noticing what I was saying, noticing what I was feeling, again, witnessing, just noticing it, not trying to make it go away. And then remembering what I know. God's got this. There's something greater happening here. Spirit's in charge here. And I remembered that a little bit earlier in the year, what I had visioned and seen was enlargement, amplification of consciousness. I didn't expect it to show up in a flood, but you know, you never know. and I could see how things were working themselves out here. So and basically, oh, by the way, just so you get the extent of this, 5 units in our condominium complex, 5 units and 2 hallways were flooded as well. So this wasn't just mine. This was, you know, a lot going on. And so, you know, what happened was I got to know my neighbors a whole lot better, my upstairs neighbors, my downstairs neighbors, and they're all lovely people. I got to interact with wonderful workmen who came and dealt with it as quickly as they could, that part of it. I got to see all of a sudden and remember that I wanted to renovate. I remembered that, you know, oh yeah, you've been talking about this. You've been not talking about it, but you've kind of been thinking about it. And you've kind of been thinking, how is this going to happen? How financially is it going to work? Well, now insurance is going to pay for all of it, of course. And it's highly inconvenient. And I get a new living room and kitchen out of it. And if I'd renovated before and then this happened, I would have been a very unhappy camper. You hear what I'm saying? Now, some people, if they're at the beginning metaphysics level, will probably say to me, you know, Reverend Joan, if you'd just gone ahead and renovated, this could have been avoided. You know, that's that stage 2 consciousness, cause and effect. But I know that's not what was at work here. I know that there's something bigger at work here. For one thing, it's pulling me to trust more deeply than I was trusting before, to really live in the uncertainty, because that's one of the things that Deepak says in his reading, to live in the uncertainty. And you know, at Agape Bay Area, we always talk about beginner's mind and living in that uncertainty. And so when you live in the uncertainty, and I'm experiencing now from moment to moment, day to day, I don't know what's going to happen. And then what I get to do is trust more deeply than ever before. You know, you know, somebody has generously offered the use of her home for about a week in the next week. And I'm so grateful. And I don't know still, you know, I want to give an answer and I don't, I'm working it out. And then I realize I just, in an instant, I will know. My intuition will tell me exactly what to do. Do any of you ever relate to that? Your intuition will tell you what to do. And so, however, I've got to give this person an answer before tomorrow. It'll happen. It'll happen. Oh man. But see, I expected to have the answers by Friday, and the answers didn't come. Living in the uncertainty. And what's the opportunity in that uncertainty? The opportunity is to trust, to dive more deeply, to expand, you know, to simply know God's got this. God has got this. And so there are so many blessings in it, you know, so many blessings. And still, there's the human part of it that is inconvenience. There's a human part of it that, because I had to pack things quickly in boxes, I can't find a lot of things right now. That's been particularly annoying where kitchen stuff has been concerned. But, you know, anyway, I'm rattling on. So how have I worked with this in terms of spiritual principles? And by the way, I have to tell you, the upstairs neighbor came down and we were talking. And as he was leaving, and this was Monday morning, as he was leaving, he said, "I can't believe how calm you are. I can't believe how calm you are." And I think to myself, yes, preparedness, preparedness. Because despite feelings I've had and so forth, it's never been a matter of freaking out, really. It's been preparedness. So what have I done in spiritual practices? Number one, ask for prayer. Go to prayer myself. That was kind of hard to do in the moment. Ask for prayer. Go to the ministers. Go to the practitioners. We had a board. I was communicating with the board. Ask the board for prayer. We had a visioning with the board Thursday night, and they did a chamber of prayer for me. And a couple of practitioners have sent prayers to me. And so ask for prayer. Get your fortification. Even if you're the most prepared person in the world, ask for help. That's a sign to the universe that you're willing to receive. So that, asking for prayer, being grateful. You know, I got to look at, wow, I'm grateful. You know, I'm grateful I've got great neighbors. I'm grateful there's this responsive HOA that has been very responsive. I'm grateful, you know, for the blessings that I can see coming from this. And I can only imagine the unseen blessings. I know they're greater than I can even imagine. So gratitude. Daily practice. Keep the daily practice going. Now, I have to admit, it's been a little hard sometimes during this to settle down and meditate and pray because my mind wants to go a mile a minute. On top of all this, I'm a Gemini, so my mind goes a mile a minute anyway all the time. So, you know, but sit down, be still for a minute. Lie down before I go to sleep at night when I wake up, and I always do this anyway, be grateful. Pray before I get out of bed. Pray. Ask Spirit, what's my assignment for today? Before I even get out of bed. And then some of the yoga practices, the stretches that I do, you know, that's been part of my spiritual practice. Hydrating, eating good food as best I can. Now, the self-care part of it is the part I need to work on the most. I'll acknowledge that, you know, and I've been pretty good. You know, I went to the chiropractor as soon as I could. I've been hydrating. I've been not eating junk food, eating healthy food. I kind of had to because my body had a response to it too. And so that's been interesting. But self-care in the midst of it, take care of yourself, you know? And I continually realize I'm the one responsible to take care of myself. And yes, other people outpicture and show up and assist. And it's up to me to say, I care enough. This body temple is important enough. And then finally, let's see, did I cover everything? Yes. And then finally, trust. And actually, I was going to begin with that, but I realized that kind of really rounds it all out. Keep trusting, keep knowing. See, I'm prepared enough in consciousness, having done spiritual practices for more than half my life, probably since I was 15 years old, and we won't go into how long that is. But, you know, and I'm prepared. And could I be more prepared? Yes, I could be deeper, I could be more expanded, and I am prepared. It's not like all of a sudden I decided to pray. It's like, no, you've got your tank full here. This is good. And you know other individuals in your community who have their tanks full, who can support in prayer. Community. That's the last thing I want to say. This is so beautiful to be in community, to be here for each other, in prayer first, but then also in terms of seeing your faces, in terms of being able to talk with people, you know, community, knowing that you're in a community of like-minded souls that love you, that support you. And that's true for each and every one of us. It's not just me. That's the truth for each of us. We are loved, we are supported. Our Agape family, our Agape community is here for us. And what I notice a lot of us do, and I'm patting myself on the back that I didn't do it this time, a lot of us do is we don't reach out. What I notice is that sometimes when there's a crisis in someone's life, we don't see them for a while. And that's the exact time we want to be here with you and for you. So, you know, take care of yourself that way. Know that you are loved. Know that you are worthy of love. Rely on your community. Rely on your practitioners, on your ministers, on your prayer partners. Oh, and I also texted my own practitioner and talked with my own prayer partner too, you know. And I could honestly, to be honest with you, I could not even imagine doing a talk today with all this going on, and wasn't real thrilled about it. And I texted my practitioner and she immediately started praying. And within a few hours, the talk started to download. So, you know, use your practitioners. They're powerful beings, powerful instruments. All righty. I do think that is as much as I want to say, except be prepared. See everything as an opportunity. See every problem as an opportunity. You know, ask what needs to be known here. The solution will show up, and it'll show up first in your consciousness, because that's the way the law works. It depends on us to know it, to see it. And then observe. Be the observer of your life. That's probably that might even be the single most important practice in my life, practicing mindfulness, because it allows the I am within me to do its thing, to see its truth in the midst of it.